Welcome to Chapter 2, Selecting Time Series Data. So we're finally going to see a time series data frame and do some time series data analysis, beginning by selection. So Pandas gives you this great ability to select different time periods, different rows in a variety of ways when you have a time series data frame. All right, so this entire part of the course is called time series. I haven't officially defined what is time series data, but so we need to know this before continuing. So generally speaking, time series data is simply points of data gathered over time. So that is a very loose definition. There's lots of data sets that can fit the mold of what is considered a time series data, but just a little bit more specifics over here. The time order is meaningful, right? So as the data is collected, we really care about the time that it is collected. There's generally one observation per unit of time, and each unit of time uniquely identifies each row. So knowing the time gives you specific way to identify the data. All right, and usually time is evenly spaced between each data point. Now, notice that we're using the word time and not date time. This is just general terminology, but really we're talking about date times in pandas when we're talking about time series data. So I know it's a little confusing to go back and forth between time, which is, I've said, is just hour, minute, second. Really it is date time. You have a date and a time that is uniquely identifying some moment of time on Earth, right? And we're getting some data at that date time. All right, so it'll make more sense once we see some examples. So probably the most common example is just stock market data, like the closing price or just a price at any moment of time of a specific stock. But there's other good examples like the levels of CO2 in the atmosphere, any unemployment rates. Anything that you're collecting data over time is considered time series data. So yes, Pandas does have excellent functionality for time series data, and we're just going to begin with selection in this chapter. All right, so let's read in 20 years of stock market data. So you can see over here what I've done is, and this is something you should do when you have time series data, is place the date time into the index. So you get a lot more functionality when you do this. So this is the one time where I do strongly suggest putting a column in the index, and that column should be the date time. Just to show you, it is 20 years of data. Here's the head beginning in October 99, and this is the tail ending in October 2019. All right, so like I said, if you do have time series data, make sure you put the date time into the index. And just to show that index, officially it's called a date time index, although that name isn't that important. Just a sequence of all of the date times. You can select it one. You'll see it is a timestamp object, a single one. You can slice this, between using integer location. That's great. Another thing you can do is there are attributes and methods for the index. These are all the same attributes and methods that we've discussed before that are available with the DT accessor. So I'm not going to cover them in great detail, but you can get what year it is. You can get the month. You can get the week, day. You can get the day name. This is a function, and so all of those same attributes and methods are available directly from the index to get that information. All right, so now we're going to begin with actual selection. So this is what the rest of the chapter is going to talk about: is how can we select from here? So how can we select a single row? So I'm going to use the loc indexer, and what you do here is you can just pass in a string of the row you want to select. So let's just say we want to select the year 2010, May 3rd, and that will give us that exact row. You can actually select in a variety of different ways. You can say May 3rd, 2010, and Pandas will actually understand it. So all of those strings that can be converted to timestamps, what we learned with date time, can work over here for selection, right? And you can put multiple days in a list, right? So I can say May 3rd and May 4th like this. Okay, so May 4th, not all the days are in here, right? So stock markets are not open on the weekend. So I need to move up. I didn't know that was, oh, no wonder I forgot .loc. So that is the answer. We can see maybe May 4th actually is in there. Yes, good. All right, so sorry about that. Yes, I forgot. I will be selecting columns if I forgot loc. So loc is, remember, allows you to simultaneously select rows and columns. So here I've selected 2 rows like this. Now here's a trick that Pandas allows, very cool. So you can do partial string matching. So you don't have to give the exact row. You can say, all right, I want 2010 May. So I want all, this will give you all of the rows for May of 2010. So this selects an entire period of time. So for any row that appeared in May of 2010, that will work. You can also select, you can also slice. So you can say, all right, I'm going to slice from May 2010 to June 2010. And like this, so just make sure you saw that, right? So I'm using slice notation over here. And it'll go to the very last day for June of 2010. All right, another thing you can do, since this is loc, you should know about this, is you can select rows and columns simultaneously. So we can select a few of the columns here, maybe Facebook and Tesla, like this. So these stocks actually were not around in 2010. So let's go to 2017. And we'll say from May 3rd to May 10th, like this. Okay, so you can just do your normal selection with loc for the columns, but it's really the rows that allow you to do this really cool selection where you can just give strings and also use partial strings to select entire, periods of time. All right, so that is an introduction to selecting with the loc indexer on time series data. So this is specific for when you have a date time in the index.